We go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Saturday morning here in the War Room. This is the Ask a Painter live show. I am Nick Slavic. I'm the host of Ask a Painter Live. I am also the owner of Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. Normally, I do this show noon on Friday, but we had an insanely busy day, which I'll get into later. And before we get too deep into this, Phil Klein, Tama, I'm just going to check all my, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Saturday. All right, there we go. So we are up and running. Thank you, everybody. We got IG live going. So Instagram is live as well. We have Facebook going here too. I'm doing this on a Saturday morning because I've had an insanely busy couple weeks. First start of the year here. You guys can suggest any topic you want. We can ask any question. And then I'm going to walk through Apprenticeship 2.0. So starting in December of 2020, this last December here, December is one of the best recruiting months you can have in the entire year. A lot of trades companies lay their people off. A lot of people are slow on work. It's a time where, businesses that haven't quite got it all dialed in kind of start hitting some friction and some rough spots. So I go heavy into recruiting and I recruit on two separate ways here. We recruit decent human beings, which are basically just warm bodies off the street who meet our core values and are awesome people. And then we look for also experienced craftspeople who are very underappreciated in the industry, who bounce around from company to company. People use them up, squeeze them up, and then spit them out. And we want to find a good home for people like that who truly love the craft and want to change the trade. So Apprenticeship 2.0, we are known for apprenticeship. We cannot find enough people who are like us, who share our core values and can actually paint. So we have to make our own. And about 4 years ago, we restarted the company. I had a couple craftspeople working for me, and they went to do religious-based mission trips. And I went from 3 people working with me to 0. And at that point, I thought, we're going to make a real go of this thing. So I hired 2 people at a time. And generally, we stay about 15 to 20 people. We're at about that level now, but we do have the extra capacity now with the leadership team where we're going to grow. Now, for the last 4 years, I've been relying on the goodness of decent human beings to train other decent human beings. So I train some people, I give them a base of knowledge, and then I find some other people, train those people, and then have those people train some more people. And it's sort of a replicating machine like that. And that's how we've been going for a lot of years. To be honest, it's very unintentional. You're relying on the goodness of others and the core values that we all share in order to create a warm learning environment to create some of the finest craftspeople in the industry. And it works really well. Now, we have the capacity to do something more, which we're going to call Apprenticeship 2.0. It's going to be insanely intentional. And it's not just training people how to paint. That is not the problem, I would surmise. It starts all before that. So you need an airtight job description. You need people to know exactly what they're getting into. You need to have deliverables. I was raised in a trades business where everybody just screamed at me, do it better, do it faster. And there were no metrics put on that stuff. So it was just, I always felt like I was doing better. I always continued to improve my speed in the craft, and I still got screamed at. And I never felt like they knew what they were doing. I knew what I was doing, and it was all confusing. And that leads to people either burning out or getting out of the trade. So in my company, we have something called the standards, which allows people to know exactly how they're doing. And because we do job costing and track everybody's numbers very closely, we can assign a production number to each person in our company. And we do that not with the hopes of getting rid of them, saying, oh, these numbers stink, get out of here. It points out areas where they need improvement. So legitimately, people do very well in wall jobs. There's some very large trim jobs that people have not done very often, so they need more training, and the numbers point that out. We can take a brand new apprentice, look at their wall job numbers, and we can say, hey, you know what, that's good. Maybe we need to tune up a little prep, a little patching maybe, but otherwise, tracking the numbers and assigning people numbers pinpoints where they need extra training so you can help them win. So number one, the job description's got to be there. Number two, you got to have deliverables. In my company, we say produce at $55 of revenue an hour after materials and don't get any callbacks. And there's some other core value things in there too, but those are good numbers to go by. After that, you got to have an employee manual so they know exactly what the employment law is in your state. When somebody wants to request time off, that needs to be written down somewhere. When you create a system where everybody knows what the rules are, everybody can bounce around within them and hold each other accountable. If you just hire people and you don't have any of this stuff, that leads to all the sort of problems that people have. Well, this person didn't do it the way I asked them to. Well, do you have a standard operating procedure for painting walls written down? Have you trained them on it, and do you hold them accountable to it? Those are all the things. These are kind of like entrance fees into contracting and owning employees. So after that, you got to have a review process. We call them GSRs. Almost everybody else does too. Goal setting and review meetings, where 4 times a year we sit down with everybody and we kind of review like, hey, here's our core values. Here's our production numbers. We rate you on that. And then we set a goal. That's the important part. We say in 3 months, we're going to sit down again. What should we create as a goal for you? And in people's first year, we have 4 things that they need to do every 3 months in order to pass their apprenticeship. And we can get into that later. But we sit down, and the goal again is not to test them and get rid of them. The goal is to say, I'm going to break myself to help train you, to mentor you in this. So you tell me what you need to succeed over the next 3 months, and we're going to meet again, and we're going to make sure you win, and we're all going to win together. Now, the biggest change in Apprenticeship 2.0 is our new training facility. So we moved the entire operation off my farm into a shop. We have a spray booth, prep area, drying rooms. We also have 2 mock bedrooms that simulate a 15 by 15 and a 13 by 15 bedroom. That are complete replicas of what we normally do. We also have a mock test kitchen in the upper floor of our shop. And we're basically going to be bringing people in, and before they get a chance to touch any of the beloved craftspeople already operating in my company, they got to go through me and my 2 trainers first. And we're going to suss out something that we call MPC, Mass Personal Chaos. We want to make sure that you're a good fit core value wise before you get to the rest of the company. Now, the hiring process is very strict here. We have built a very large electrified fence around this company, and we just don't let anybody in. By the time somebody gets to our company, they're beyond a shadow of a doubt, unless they hide their MPC very well. We have done a very good job controlling for that. So it starts off with you got to have the job description, you got to have deliverables, and then you create a job ad around that. And I'll be very blunt here. If you're out there putting job ads out saying must have 3 years experience, must have your own tools, lift 50 pounds and a driver's license, good luck. That is a way of hiring with that sort of job ad that's 30 years old, and you're only going to attract a certain type of person. We have lots of things to try to inspire people into the trades here in our job ads, and we're looking for a certain type of person who's happy and optimistic, low MPC, interested in constant improving, and wants to be part of a team. And so once the job ad goes out in December, we had 101 applicants for this job, and I shut it off after that. I go through the 101, and we obviously just start sussing out people who are an hour and a half away or from a different state. And then we get down to probably about 30 or 40 people who are like, well, let's dig a little more. And what I do then is create a little file on each person, and then I schedule a phone interview. Again, probably 20% of the people don't show up for the phone interview. So good, cross them off the list. I place these small little hurdles in front of people, and that allows me to sort of allows them to self-select out of the process, and after the phone interview, the interesting thing is people always love to do this. Like, what's your favorite interview question? What is something you can ask that will guarantee you it's a good employee? This does not exist. There's people who are good interviewers, but it's not the actual question. If you've sat in on interviews before and asked questions, you'll realize very quickly most people don't even answer the question. So the only trick that I have with all this is when we're on the phone, I usually just say, you're going to get a chance to ask anything you want about me, the business, or the opportunity, but I want to hear about you. So tell me about you, or what are you doing currently? And then you just shut up and let them talk. You allow them to talk. You do not fill up the awkward pauses, and people will tell you an amazing amount of things about yourself that you would never think to ask, or you wouldn't get to with normal questions. So that's a very sort of eye-opening experience. Based on that, we'll have 30 phone interviews, give or take. We'll narrow that down to about 10 people who actually are deemed worthy of like sitting down with me and the leadership team. And then we have a ranking scale. We rank things, we rank certain criteria that we're looking for in the company. And yesterday, the reason I didn't do Ask a Painter live is because we had interviews from 7 in the morning till 4 at night here in the war room. And what an awesome day. Some of the greatest people. This has been the best round of recruiting that I've ever experienced. And we sit down and we just feel people out. And it's sort of that last little bit for my team to meet, because my team is busy. We have 2 production managers, an estimator, and a trainer, and a shop manager. And we don't need to waste their time with sussing out 101 applicants. So what I do is I'll get it down to 8 or 10. Present them to them. I've created a little dossier on each. I've briefed them on them. We discuss them. And then the debate goes on all day. We rank the candidates. We talk about the pros and cons. And we ended up making offers and came to agreements with 4 people yesterday. They're all going to start on February 1st. So 2 weeks from now, the training rooms are all up to speed. I need to finish the last bit of curriculum for Apprenticeship 2.0 and make it an hour-by-hour sort of plan for the first 2 weeks of somebody's life here in the company. But I will say this, all of this I owe to my current craftspeople in the company. Insanely good people. They have been here for years. They live and breathe the core values. They're out there making the happiest clients on the planet. And all of this is based on them. And these people have been very graceful as I grow as a leader and a recruiter and a craftsperson and a business owner. Over the last 4 years, we've done all sorts of experiments with the hopes of making the happiest employees and the happiest clients. And not all of them have worked. And these people have been flexible enough and forgiving enough to sort of allow me to do these experiments. And you know what? Sometimes we bring people in that are dumpster fires. But you know what? If you don't earn, meaning, creating a happy experience for them, you have to learn. And on every one of these things, the thing that my leadership team does insanely well is we're very intentional about, if this did not work, what can we learn from it and never again? And then we move forward like that, the whole constant improvement, which is another one of our core values. So I truly do owe it to the core people in my company. And all of this is based on, when we look for people to bring in over the high electrified fence of this company, we think about, are they like our core or are they not like our core? And that's what Apprenticeship 2.0 is about. I'll say this again, and I want everybody to hear this very closely. Apprenticeship is way less about teaching people to paint. If you get good people that share your core values and are happy, optimistic, inspired, low MPC, they will learn how to paint. It's not a problem. It is not a problem at all. The problem with the trades is we're unprofessionalized. We're bringing sometimes really good people into companies who are unprofessionalized, and it scares these people away, or it doesn't give them that comforting feeling that there's a future in there for them. We finally shored up our pay scale. For 5 years, we have a path for anybody in the company to go from making $36,000 a year with no benefits to $60K a year, health insurance, retirement, PTO, all sorts of stuff. That's the difference. And when people see that, they know there's something out there else for them. So Apprenticeship 2.0 is that. We are going to train people the same way we trained people to paint 10 years ago. That's not going to change. It's not that. It's not a fancy training video. It's not a fancy training manual. It's being more intentional about the people you bring in and then how you treat them after. So that's the big difference. And now especially with the team here, we can all put a hand in and be super intentional. So I'm going to go through IG here. Let's see. Oh yeah. Looking for questions, comments. Yeah. Yeah, that's on IG. So I see it there as a comment. That's why people say there's no good people out there. So the number escapes me, but there could be something like 90. No. I want to say 60 or 70 million millennials between 19 and 38. And that's basically most of the employment out there. And if you're telling me you can't find one decent human being out of 70 million people, that's ridiculous. It doesn't seem like you're trying very hard. So, Ramirez, If after trial and trial, they, for whatever reason, don't improve, how do you break it to someone and fire them? So this is something interesting. So number one, we spend all our time on the front end, controlling for the people that come in. So really, hopefully you don't run into this at all. When you do, what we always say is, we're not looking to fire you. And interestingly enough, I'll go down a side path here. During one of my 30 interviews with people on a phone, somebody asked me, how do you get fired from your company? And what's interesting is that I've never fired anybody for painting skills in my company. It's decent human being violations and core value violations. Our first core value is trust. If we don't trust you, if Tina, Alex, Brandon, Steven, Gabby, the core of my company, the people who've been here the longest, don't trust you, you don't stand a chance. So it's very interesting. Now, what happens if somebody's not getting it? It's our responsibility to train the living daylights out of them. They need all those things. They need a job description. They need deliverables. They need standard operating procedures. They need a goal setting and review meeting. If you just hire somebody, give them 2 days of instruction and send them out on their own, it's your fault if they don't succeed. You need to be super intentional about training them, retraining them, correcting them, and breaking yourself to give them the opportunity to succeed in this trade. I mean, I've been doing this 28 years. I've been very calloused sometimes to people's ability to do this because I think, why? It's just so easy, do this. Completely forgetting and being oblivious to the fact that I've had thousands and tens of thousands of reps in everything that we do, and it's almost muscle memory for me. So we need to be open-minded, open-hearted with the people that we bring in, and we need to give them every chance. Now, the way that you make sure that they're succeeding is that you need to give them a goal, like produce at $55 an hour. At 3 months, we want you to paint a standard size bedroom walls in 4 hours. We need you to show up on time. We need you to work at least 40 hours a week. All those deliverables. So if something doesn't match, you can correct them like that. If you do need to fire somebody, interestingly enough, we got in a very heated debate in the Gathering of Minnesota Painters. It's a Facebook group. It's a group that Jason Paris and I got together. It's it's 150 of the brightest minds in the upper Midwest, and I love that group. I posted on there. It's all business owners and craftspeople. I just said, when the knee-jerk reaction always is, if you're going to fire somebody, you need to do it in person. And just something doesn't feel right about that with me. And I was like, well, why does somebody want to sit in front of you and hear that they're inadequate or that they didn't meet the standards? Do they want to argue? Do they want to try to save their ego? What is it? Why do we want to have these awkward conversations? Leadership team and other people from Gathering of Minnesota Painters kind of let me in on something. They're like, listen, under that, you're assuming that this person has been a 20-year employee that is amazing to work with, that has done everything you asked, broke themselves for the company, and you just want to fire them over a text message or an email? Like, yeah, that's crappy. I would not do that. But Ramirez, if you've invested in 9 months to a year in somebody and they're late, they're not doing the standards, the other people don't trust them, they're on their phone all day, they take too many breaks, they're not putting forth any effort to learn. You come in out of the field and you work with them constantly. You sit down at goal setting reviews and you train them. You assign them one of the finest craftspeople in your company to train them. And if they still aren't doing the basic decent human being things, you know what? We've tried here. I don't know that I need to have you here in my war room to sit down in front of me and argue over your job. I have spent 9 months breaking myself trying to inspire you into this craft. Now, I will still take the blame for that. There must be something as a leader that I'm not doing. But at some point, if somebody has not been a good employee and has not followed your core values, core value number one, trust. If they haven't gained the trust of anybody in the company, if they haven't constantly improved, if they're not disciplined, if they haven't shown effort, then at some point I would make the argument, you know what? My fault for letting you in, my fault for not inspiring you, but I think that's your well-worded email with a counseling statement, stating the things there and the things that, this will also be backed up by a string of something that we do, which is counseling statements, which is something I got from the Army, which is if you're late, I write you a counseling statement. It's basically a record of like, listen, on this day, you showed up late. the standard of the company is this. We need you to do this in order to improve. And normally when somebody does not further their employment here, there's a string of somewhere between 2 and 8 of those things to basically say, listen, I've given you every chance I can. It's not up to me anymore. It's up to you, because we have some people in this company that between 3 and 6 months get this, and everybody loves them and people fight to have them on their crew. And if you're here for 9 or 12 months and you still can't do the basic requirements of the job, I don't know that this is for you. I don't know that you even want to do it. I always make the argument with other people too, that like, yes, painting takes a long time to master. I argue that in 1 year, they can learn and perfect 90% of what we do. And it's going to take years to fill in that last little craftsman-y 10%. But if you worked at a gas station and after 6 months, you couldn't work the till or close out the store at the end of the day, people would laugh at you and fire you. They'd be like, hey, you've been here for half a year. You don't understand the basics. That's sort of what we put forward. At some point, there are examples where people do get it. And then we say, listen, if I just need to do a better job of recruiting then, or protecting the company from it. So, all right, let's go through CIG. And again, guys, any question? Let's see here. Oh, that painter guy. Yep, I hear you. Yeah, records is good. So again, any question, any comment you guys want, we can talk about oil primer. We can talk about hiring. We can talk about anything else. I just thought I would hop on and, apologize for not doing the Friday show, but then sort of previewing Apprenticeship 2.0, which is, again, people are all hot on the problem in the trades is that there's not enough painters. So everybody's knee-jerk reaction is we need to train painters. I would argue that we should not be recruiting and training painters until we are professionalized, till we are real businesses. If you bring a couple people on and you've never job costed, you don't even know if your company's making money. How are you ever going to tell if they're making money or succeeding? And you're going to scare people away. A lot of the interviews I've had with master craftspeople over the last couple of weeks, they're looking for work because their companies are super shaky, and there's no standards, there's no processes, there's no review, there's no way forward. And almost it's such a funny cliche at this point, but all these painters, when I talk to them in the area, they're like, you just ask them, how's your day? What's it look like in your company? What makes you uneasy? And universally they say, wake up at 5:30. I look at my phone. I get a text message for an address. I go to that address. It's disorganized. Somebody's already started the project. Maybe I'm picking it up here. And then the next day they send me another address and I go to that address, and it's all over. They never know where they're going. They never know what they're doing. It doesn't feel like there's any thought behind it. Everything's all scattered. And there's sort of like, it makes really good, decent human beings scared, because it's like, none of this feels right. It's impersonal. It's gross. I don't feel like anybody respects me or cares for me. And it's just weird. Like, what is going on here? So all this being said, we just need to be better. We just need to be better as everybody. So, okay, let's go here. Tony, how's it going, man? What's your opinion of sending estimates, email or text message? So, oh, dude, listen, I got 1,000 thoughts. I'm going to try to condense it down into one sentence here. 3 years ago, one paragraph. I'm long-winded. 3 years ago, I started doing virtual estimating. And I would say probably 40% in years past of my estimates, people have sent me pictures and I've given them an estimate. I do not do video calls. That doesn't give me what I want. I want high-res still images, and I would send them an estimate, and we've never gone over a price on one of those. There's obviously been times where you miss them, but for every estimate that I don't have to drive to, it saves me about 2.5 to 3 hours. And if 40% of your estimates, the equivalent of 350 estimates a year, times 2 to 2.5 hours, you're looking at 700 to 900 hours I saved in 1 year. And so it's risk and reward. I thought when COVID hit that this was going to be a bonanza. I thought, oh my God, if anybody's positioned to reap the rewards and serve these clients, we have got virtual estimating down to a science. I can do a $30,000 trim, cabinet, wall, ceiling estimate for an entire house, 3 floors, virtually within a couple hours. If you send me pictures of all the rooms, I can write it up, no problem, fully detailed, every window, every door, every baseboard, every cabinet, every closet, all itemized out, ready to go. Nobody wants that anymore, which is super interesting. So I thought I was just going to be positioned for like, oh my God, perfect timing. I'm an expert at virtual estimating and nobody wants us in their houses or they want to limit contact. Something happened this last year. We have 2 data points. Everybody wants in-home estimates. I give people the option of virtual and in-home. And even in a world of COVID, they're like, no, we want you in our house. Color consults. We partner with a firm that helped us out with lots and lots of color consults. They went completely virtual in 2020. None of our clients want virtual color consults. They want humans in their house face to face. I think we are so bereft of human contact in this year. There's some people who have not left their house since March. I think people want human contact even more now. I have 2 data points to prove that. We do know one thing in my company. If you create the perfect scenario for an estimate, Tony, I would show up a couple minutes early. I would be dressed all in my cream colored clothes. We'd have a company van. I'd go in the house. I would walk through with the client, listen to their needs. I'd be on my tablet, taking notes with my stylus. 15, 20 minutes maybe in the house, looking over a big project, go out to my van, type it into my estimate template, print it out with my little mobile printer and my mobile command unit, and walk back in. Within a half an hour, 45 minutes, that client has a paper copy of their estimate, a written info sheet. You have all the stuff, the sample cabinet doors, whatever. You walk in the house, you walk through together, answer any questions. That's the best case scenario. Now, as the business grows, I could only do so many of those a day. So I started doing virtual estimates because I could do 4 or 5 virtual estimates in the morning between 4 and 8. And then I could do 5 to 8 estimates during the day on a full day. And I could pack in a ton of estimates to keep my company going. Now we have Estimator Andy, and now we know that virtual estimates were super effective and they worked really, really well before COVID. They still work well. Just people aren't interested in them. They want human to human contact. So now Estimator Andy and we're out there. He's got his Fusion. I got my minivan. We're out there face to face doing it safely, and people want that stuff. Color consults too. Color has now become the most important part of every project. It's the most difficult thing for the clients to sort of, people don't have a problem choosing whether to paint or not. It seems people have a hard time choosing what colors to paint. So that's where we have to spend a lot of time. Now, with the firm that used to do all our estimates, when they stopped doing in-house, I've had to jump in the field. We've had to tap other designers to do that. I've been doing color consults for my business for 13 years. And at one point, I did the equivalent of 28 full working days of color consults in 1 year. So I like doing it, but again, it takes time. And so it's interesting, Tony. Those are the 2 data points I can give you now. Kathleen, how's it going? Good morning. John, how's it going? Who are some of your mentors? Mentors got cut off there. So interestingly enough, there is a used car dealer here in New Prague who is one of the shrewdest business people I've ever known. And not because he's seeking with money, but because he's one of the kindest human beings. And he truly does only think about taking care of people. And he kind of taught me that you don't have to be a martyr and you don't have to suffer for that. You can create financial freedom for your family and also care deeply for others around you. So that thought has been super inspiring to me. I will say this, I didn't take a lot from the Army, but what I did take from is I was on Fort Bragg, home of the Airborne and the Special Forces, and I got to train. They used me as a goomper for Special Forces training. So when they train Special Forces guys, they do these experiments out in the woods where you go camping and the military equivalent of camping, and you do field exercises, and they need some just common dumb rubes from the Army to sort of act as like trainees out there. And so I got tapped like, hey, yeah, I'll go sit in the woods for a couple of weeks. Who cares? And that was the coolest thing that ever happened to me, because I would sit out there with these guys who have gone through almost 2 years of the most high-speed training in the world. And what I looked at, all these personalities that I saw out there, was the mental toughness was out of this world. You would think of like Special Forces soldiers as just like big, muscly, ripped guys with square jaws and things like that. There were some dudes with pot bellies out there, But the difference was they were so mentally strong that they could put on an 85-pound backpack and walk till their knees fell off. And you know what they say? Oh, just keep going. Who cares? Moving on. And if something needs to be done, they do it and they jump. And that taught me that there's something inside people that can be made stronger. And you can be a more effective weapon, a more effective human by sometimes making yourself mentally more tough than physically more tough. It'd be great to do both, but I don't really have a specific mentor. I've got impressions from those people I met in the Army. I think about them every day. There's my used car dealer here. And actually, I have another paint business owner in Minnesota who is basically my mentor. We're sort of accountability partners with each other. And that's who we each try to push each other. And interestingly enough, John, one of the goals for myself, one of my rocks, if we follow traction, is to actually find a legitimate mentor this year. And I'm actually having problems. It's not that there aren't good candidates out there. I just need somebody who fits my personality. Like, I want to be beaten up. I want somebody, I had this conversation years ago with somebody. I was telling them, God, I fixate on this thing. I think about it day and night. It's just eating at me. I just want a result. And that person looked me right in the face and said, if you think about it that much, you should probably do something about it. And it shamed me into doing something about it. And I'm very glad it did. And I need somebody who is like that, who doesn't take any BS, who is not soft-hearted, who basically just cuts through the BS and says, that's not true, you're not being honest, or something like that. And the quest goes on. It's not that there aren't people out there. It's that I haven't done a good job of finding them. So, John, that's an awesome question. I like that. Oh, Allie and Trevor, how's it going, guys? Oh, Brian. All right, catch up, Be Live. There we go. Brian Santos, my good friend. Love talking to Brian. Matt, how's it going, man? You gotta start drinking coffee. I'm talking too much. Oh, yeah, here we go. We'll get to IG in here in just a little bit. Cody. Hey, Nick, we just bid a job with trim, doors, casing, and baseboard, walls, and ceilings. We've done this before with no issue, but we're looking to be more efficient. How would you paint this, and how long? And how? I'm going back to the comment here. And how long are you waiting to paint the walls after spraying trim, and what products are you using? We are doing one of these right now. Okay, so prepare to copy, Cody. A main floor of a house. Let's just take a main floor, walls, trims, cabinet. I would estimate that a pair of craftspeople who generally know what they're doing should take about 2.5 to 3 weeks to do this. It'll be a week of prep. And at the end of that first week of prep, you should have oil primer on. We use Zinsser cover stain. The next week, I'll walk through the specifics. You get the trim and the cabinets done. And then the following week, you paint all the walls. So we'd like to do that 2.5 to 3 weeks in there. And for that, I don't know, maybe a $15,000 to $20,000, $15,000 to $18,000 price tag for that. Here's Cody. Also, actually, this will be super helpful. If you email me, nick@nickslavic.com, I can actually send you the SOP for my trim enameling. So generally, I'm going to go through this really quick. Generally, what we do is floor protection first, because we're going to be walking everywhere. Doors come off. All the door hardware, we're talking passage doors, whatever else. Doors come off. They go back to our finishing facility to get finished. Windows get prepped. Cabinets get prepped. Everything gets SVT'd, sand, vacked, and tacked. We prep all the miscellaneous stuff. Light fixtures, filters and vents, furniture, seal up all the furniture, everything else. And then we shoot oil primer on everything. SVT, the oil primer, sand, vac, tack. We call it surgical sweeting. You want all the dust and debris out of there. And then we spray 2 coats of Benjamin Moore Scuff-X. Scuff-X sticks to itself in 10 minutes. It can be recoated in 1 to 2 hours. So really, if you got a high speed, couple of people, they can put 2 coats of Scuff-X on an entire main floor in a day if they're running at full speed. And then honestly, Cody, this whole house is Scuff-X. The walls are matte. The trim is satin. I've painted Scuff-X and is in as little as 1 hour, put yellow frog tape on it and painted walls. If you just let it go overnight, perfect. That's what we use. If you're using emerald trim urethane, if you're using advance, all that stuff, I just let it go overnight. It's not a big deal. If you have to push it, throw some yellow frog tape over that stuff, and you can do it in a couple hours. But a lot of the times, the processing through the project, you just don't, I don't find scenarios where you have to do that right away. So if you're using oil enamel and stuff like that, obviously you're going to have to wait longer, but yeah, with that stuff, it works really well. So yeah, Cody, Nick@nickslavic.com, and anybody else, if you want an SOP, how to paint all the trim in a house, the exact sequence, I can give that to you. Cody got another one. All right. Sales. How do you ask for the sale when you hand over the estimate or tell the customer to get back with you? Yes. Controversial. I do not ask for the sale. I believe, just like when you hire and recruit, all the work is done up front. The process is somebody goes to my website. I want all leads to come through my website because it gathers all that information, and then it creates a spreadsheet for me that tracks all my leads. I try to respond within 2 hours to get them a date on the calendar for an in-person estimate nowadays, because virtual are not interesting to people anymore. And then we get there, we do the estimate, just like the process I said before. Within about half hour, 45 minutes, they have a paper copy in their hand. And if you've done all these processes super quickly, confidently, all your logos match, nothing looks different, you have now gained the trust of the client. If you gain the trust of the client, more likely than not, you're going to sell them that. A very wise person in the trades industry basically said this. I believe that, well, I'll say this. I think that it's sort of not up to you a little bit. And when people say you need to ask for the sale, you need to push them. Before you leave that house, you need to say, is this a job I can do for you? Can I do this? Can I get a check for a deposit? I find myself in so many scenarios when you're doing even an $8,000, $4,000 estimate for somebody for a set of kitchen cabinets, they want to talk it over with their significant other. Asking them for the sale right there seems very impersonal. Like they're about to spend a lot of money and probably not take out a loan for it, just hand you over a check at the end of this. Of course you would have a discussion at dinner with your significant other that evening. So for me, it's one of those things like, I wouldn't want to do that. If somebody came over here and did an estimate for a deck for me for 14 grand, they're like, okay, can we get you on the books? Like, no, dude, hold tight. We haven't picked colors. We haven't picked finishes. I got to talk this over with my wife. Like, no, I'm not just going to spend that type of money or make that decision on that quick. So I don't ask for the sale. I believe that if you've done a good job gaining the trust, you don't need to. So also what we do is within 24, 48 hours, we email back and ask them if they have any questions. And we just say, hey, you've had time to consider. Now, is this a job we can do for you? Is something you want to pursue? If we don't hear back from them again, then we usually give them a call just to make sure. Because again, we took the time 2 to 3 hours to go to their house and do that. I just want to find out why. Again, earn or learn. If you didn't get the job, I'd like to know why. So I'll just ask them in an email. They said, oh no, we chose somebody else. And I'll just say, so I can serve my clients better in the future. What was it? Was it timeline? Was it price? Was it my estimating process? Was it our products? Was it our finish? And get some data just so I can constantly improve. So yeah, that's what we do, Cody. Leonard Shepard, I'll be your mentor. Hey man, I'm all for it. Email me, Nick@nickslavic.com. We can talk further. John, absolutely, man. Phil Klein, one of my favorite people. We talked on the phone this week. I like Phil because every time he calls or texts, every time I call or text him, we always start with some craftsman-y stuff, and then we talk about big picture stuff, which is fun because I do like to dabble in a little bit of eyebrush alky sort of stuff. Thank you, Zach Kenny, by the way, for the awesome shirt. Mike Wojon, fellow Minnesota painter. Love Mike Wojon. Noah. Advice from a young tradesman. Love Noah. One of the brightest young minds in the industry. Could you talk a little bit about our ScuffX sticks to itself in 10-minute things? Loving the Saturday show. Yeah. You know what? Me too. I've normally been super strict with my family time. Like Friday at 1, I stop working, and Saturday and Sunday, absolutely no work. But I kind of like this sort of breakfasty sort of thing. So we'll do Noah's question, then we'll get to Instagram here. Okay, Noah, you know me. Like one of my favorite people, Eric Reason, test, don't guess. When I did my entire house here, we've used Advance for years. We've used water-based Impervo. We use oil Impervo. I've used all the Pro Classics, hybrid included, all that stuff. Advance became the staple of the business just because the sophistication of the finish was beautiful. ScuffX came out and it's like, it's a quick dry water-based product that's technically an industrial coating. It's sold in Benjamin Moore's industrial line, and I try everything. So it's like, fine, here's another thing. It might be interesting. It might just be another paint that we might not find a use for, or there's not enough difference in it to change our processes. When we have a standard operating procedure, we stick with it because what we promise to the client is easily replicable. So when ScuffX came out, I started doing experiments with it. I was more interested in it as an enamel for trim and cabinets than I was a wall paint. It does phenomenal on walls. We did a dog kennel with it. It's a awesome hard finish. Now, when I was in the shop testing everything out, the first thing I noticed was how fast it dried. I love Advance. I love Pro Classics. I love Emerald Trim Urethane. I love all that stuff. They're all good products. They're all tools. But something dog whistled to me about ScuffX right away. And here's what I found. I was doing cabinet doors, and then I would do a little bit more experiment, and then it was time to build the Slavic house. And I thought, you know what? I just called it Benjamin Moore. I said, you know what? Let's do a showcase house. Let's work together on this one. So we partnered on it. We did the entire house, walls, ceilings, trim, cabinets, everything. And when I got in here, I did my own set of kitchen cabinets in roughly 2 hours, give or take. I was able to, they're primed cabinet doors. I only had about 20, 22 of them. We don't have a big kitchen here. I went out in my heated garage at that time, because this whole building for me was a finishing shop at that time. I went out in the garage, and in 2 hours, I sprayed 2 coats on the backs of the cabinets, flipped them over, 2 coats on the front, and hung them. No fingerprints, no pipe marks from my racking system, no scuffs, no nothing. And to me, I mean, listen, Advance is a beautiful product. You can't do that with Advance. If you spray a backside of a cabinet door with Advance, flip it over, laying it flat, sometimes even overnight, you get a pipe mark here and there. It's a beautiful finish. It's an insanely hard finish, slow to cure. We all know that. And it was a staple of my business for years. 28 years I've been messing around with products. In my mind, normally what you do is you give up hardness and durability and beauty for fast drying. And vice versa. You can get something that's super beautiful and hard, think oil and pervo, but my God, it takes forever to dry, or it's tricky, or you have to be a craftsman to use it. When I touch ScuffX, it dries like water-based lacquer, insanely fast. In 10 to 15 minutes, it flashes off and it's dust-free. It's as hard as a rock. Legitimately, now listen, it is a water-based enamel. There's some funky stuff in it, but it's a water-based enamel. But of all the ones I've used, it is insanely hard. And number 3, which I care about, it is so beautiful. The finish on that stuff is just insane. It looks sophisticated. Number 4, it's readily available. You can get it anywhere. You can get it at your local hardware store if you want to. That's another thing too. Yes. So sorry, I'm getting down on many, many pads here. Number 5, my apprentices can't ruin it. And it delivers in a beautiful, replicable, never fail coating for my clients. It checks a lot of boxes for me. Now, if you're Zach Kenny, you want to be doing maybe gloss oil because that's what your clients ask you for. And it gives you something different. You maybe want to do 2K polys like all my friends in the cabinet finishing groups. That's great. For me, for my company, for my apprenticeship program, for my clients, this seems to check all the boxes for them. And legitimately, we are giving our clients a lifetime finish on their trim and cabinets. I got in a long direct message conversation yesterday with somebody, but is it harder than this? Is it durable? How long will it last? It's like, none of this matters, you guys. My kids are going to ruin my kitchen sooner or later, and I will have to repaint it. That has nothing to do with ScuffX. It has nothing to do with Emerald Trim Urethane. If my kids beat up their riding toys, if they ride them into our cabinets, there's no finish in the world that's going to hold up to that stuff. It depends on how our clients use it. If I were to do a ScuffX kitchen for somebody who's 65, a single person who keeps an insanely clean house, and they don't have kids or pets, and they take care of their kitchen, keep it clean, don't abuse their cabinet, that's a lifetime finish for them. So when somebody says, how long does it last? I'll say, how many crazy kids do you have? Because my finish isn't going to last that long, and it has nothing to do with the finishes. If you do something to a cabinet door hard enough to dent it, doesn't matter what you use, conversion varnish, 2K with crosslinker, all that stuff, you're going to ruin that finish. So at some point, paint is only going to be so durable. So yeah, Noah, love it, man. Jim Dorf. Morning, Nick. How do you handle the marketing side of your business? It's an in-house person, or do you have an outside firm? Okay. To get what you want, I have to create that look for myself. So I create all the images, I create the ethos, I create the messages, and then I have somebody deliver that message to somebody else. So what I found is that I was able to run a company with up to 4 or 5 painters, all on word of mouth. Everything after that, we're probably talking $500,000 painting company. After that, you got to pay for some marketing. And what I did all the experiments, Google AdWords, Facebook, everything else. What I really found success with is direct mail. It's gross. It's not sexy. It's not Instagram. I wish I could just do something on Instagram and get all my work, but I can't support a company of my size with that currently. So what we do is a aggressive form of like guerrilla marketing, which is we rubber band really nice black and white postcards to people's doors. We stick things to their mailboxes. We try to be, tasteful about it, but we do pay for some print material that goes out to lots of houses. And that's how I get the word out. And that's how I continue to be able to grow this business. And Jim, I can keep about a 3 to 3.5% of revenue marketing budget for the year. So if you do $1 million business, $30,000 to $35,000 a year spent on marketing. Excuse me. And honestly, I spend all that between September and March in the year. In Minnesota in summer, work will come in whether you want it or not. Starting in about Halloween to April, give or take, you do have to get out there and make it happen if you want to keep everybody busy. So yeah, that's what I do, Jim. Awesome question, by the way. Okay, how do you handle bickering within your team? So number one, you want to create a system that doesn't happen. You want to create an open and honest place where people can say whatever they want and they won't be judged for it. And number 3, this is the unsatisfying question, Shannon. Don't let anybody in that doesn't meet your core values. Now, nobody's going to do this perfectly. I'm still not perfect at it. But one thing that we said over and over in my leadership team, we sat here at this table all day yesterday interviewing candidates. And one thing that we kept saying over and over, this is something that I lead with because this is the way I learn. I'm very intentional about when I'm in a group of people, I usually start conversations with, I'm going to say things that I either believe or not believe, but I learn by arguing. So I'm going to say this, and based on your reaction, I'm going to learn something from it. So my goal is to get down to the good info or a decision or something useful quickly. By arguing and debating, I feel like I can get down that quickly. Now with strangers, you can see where the problem comes in with this. If you're just sitting there always naysaying or arguing or bringing up odd things that you may or may not believe or understand, that can cause some friction. But when you have a high functioning leadership team, everybody can just say, a lot of the things we do is like thought experiment. I'm just going to say this. What's your reaction? Like what if we only hire people over 8 feet tall? And then the reaction, like it can be silly, it can be funny, but you need to have that open communication, and you got to have a safe place for people to just do that. Shannon, I will also say, leading by example, obviously not doing it ourselves is the biggest way. Heading off those things of the past, just telling people if you have 2 people on your team, like, oh, this person showed up late, they didn't get disciplined, that doesn't seem fair. And then they start talking trash about that person. Just walk over, grab both of them and just say, all this is unacceptable. It's all gross to me. I'm not interested in it. It's not helping our clients. It's not helping our company. It's not helping you. So just don't. And if it happens again, well, I would do a counseling statement and just say, if it happens again, I'm going to write you another counseling statement and you'll probably not be here again. All of this is useless. You're burning calories to make your life worse. Don't do it. And that's what I would do, Shannon. All right, here we go. The question's coming in. I tell you what, here, Alfonso, we'll get to your question here. Let me make sure. XD painting, no problem, man. I'm just looking through IG here. Yeah. 2-day painting. Oh yeah, that's my friend's business in Wisconsin. Love that stuff. They do a lot of direct mail. Absolutely. Fresh paint. Glad to see you on Saturday. Okay. Everyone should gather the data on why you don't get the job. If you get 5 to 6 in a month that we're scheduling, reasons of price, reasons. Yeah, exactly, man. You've paid for that. You've given people a free estimate. I don't think you're out of bounds for asking, like, how can I improve this process? Give me some feedback on it, Oh, Jonathan Mooney, fast estimates are key and answer all their questions before they are too, and no hard sell on your target, no pressure. Absolutely. So listen, I know that my friend from Wisconsin who runs a massively successful business, he does take a little harder line approach to, selling, and he's good at it, but it probably meets his business goals. It's probably more closely related to his personality. It's just, I've created a company based on my personality, and we all find success in different ways we do it. So, all right, let's go back to Alfonso. All right. Ooh, love this one. What's your opinion on specializing versus offering many services? In a year of COVID, we started a drywall division and a carpentry division. And it's because it was a need. It wasn't something like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do that? It's every single job we're on. Like everybody's like, and can we get an estimate to strip popcorn? Or we have all this drywall damage, or we have this. And it was just like, we would recommend people, but other contractors aren't necessarily as good as us. They don't get back to people. They don't have the same processes. So it kind of hurt us in the end. So we just brought it all in-house. We have drywallers that now support our painters. We have a master carpenter and people apprenticing under him that he does all the little fixes. In the summer, he's out there doing siding and deck fixes. In the winter, he's doing all the cabinet hardware stuff. He's even putting in tile backsplashes. He ran a remodeling company locally for a long time, and he is a master. He's one of the coolest dudes ever. Super kind, loves doing this work. He created a lot of stuff in our shop too. He built our test rooms. He built me a custom-made downdraft table. And it supports our painters. It's not like this completely separate thing. It's because every single job we were on, we would interact with stuff that needs to be done. And it's just nice to support our clients and our painters. So instead of like a good example is, hey, we want to change out all our hinges to soft close, and we'd like to add a tile backsplash. In the past, that would hold up our project. We'd be like, well, here's the name of 3 cabinet makers. Here's the name of 2 tile guys. And listen, those guys are great. But the problem is they may be 4 months out. Contractors love to brag about being booked out half a year. That's not helpful to us. We can't wait on that. So now we can say, listen, we can get our carpenter in there next week. We'll get your backsplash out. We'll put the new one in. We'll change out your hinges, and then our painters will be right behind them. Nice, tight sort of thing like that. So Alfonso, we suffer. Yes. So my idea, many services, we do that. We paint outside, we paint inside, massive Victoria restorations, commercial work, industrial work, your furniture, carpentry, drywall, but it's all sort of, it's way more closely related than you think. The same principles are there of a client has a need, it's a certain core demo, you prep it in a certain way, you apply something to either make it more beautiful or protect it, and then you give them good customer service. And those services are way more closely aligned than you would think. Now, I do know that entrepreneurs and business owners, especially us visionaries, us high D on the disc profile sort of thing, we're just like, oh my God, this is great. We should open up a bar too. And then we should have a truck stop, or maybe we should put up pole buildings, or maybe we should start a tree service. It's like, I don't know many people who've mastered their painting business and reaped all the benefits of that, or do an amazingly good job where they've solved it or checked it off. So when people start a completely different business, I would say you might be leaving some low-hanging fruit in your current business, or you may not be maximizing your current effort or profit in your current business. I don't know that I would start a whole bunch unless you have an ongoing concern that does well. So Brandon, do you get nervous or on ultra deep colors with duration? No. So Brandon, this is something I see all over the painter internets. We have no problems with this stuff. I run into a lot of this stuff where painters are like, hey, what do you do about bubbles in your finish on cabinet doors? And you're like, all right, buckle up. This is going to be unsatisfying. I don't experience it, so I don't really know what to tell you. It's not something that we experience all the time and we solved. Yes, ultra deep colors are going to take a little longer to dry, but part of our SOP, and I think the reason that we don't run into this a lot is part of our SOP is we have 2 box fans running on high for each person on a job site. So one of the first things my people do when they prep a room, if they're going to paint a room Hale Navy or Naval, Sherwin-Williams Naval or something with Duration Home Mat, one of the first things they do is move the furniture, lay down drop cloths, obviously protect the floor, And then you start patching. And as soon as you get the putty knife out, the fans go on. And we have one box fan pointing one way in the room. On the opposite end of the room, the other box fan pointing this way. And you get a cyclone of air where your hair moves in the room. And it's almost hard to hear in there. I have a feeling that has a lot to do with it. Also, super dry Minnesota winters don't hurt either, Brandon. So I do know that this is a thing. I think we may have just created a process where it's not really that much of an issue, or maybe we're just one of those companies that doesn't do that many dark colors. I'm open to that too. So duration on cabinets. Emerald trim urethane? I would not put duration on cabinets. I've done it on odd projects, but emerald trim urethane, it is what it is. When you get into advanced, when you get into emerald trim urethane, they're beautiful products. They're hard products. They're good products. They don't fail very often, but they do take a little longer to cure, and it kind of is what it is. I would urge you to try. I'm not a shill for ScuffX, but I would definitely say try some other stuff. I think you'll be pleased at the dry time on that stuff. Alfonso. Okay, here you go. What do I have to do to get one in your company and learn that 90%? To get one in your company. Daniel, are you wanting to have me train somebody for you? Send him here for a little apprenticeship? Let me know. Ray, I love this. Any thoughts on charging for an estimate? I love this because you have actually done the experiment, Ray. You have a bigger data set. Ray Ronnie, one of my friends from the New York area, great craftsman, one of the first people I ever met in the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, charging for estimates. So yeah, that would be awesome, right? I did 800 to 900 of them last year. It'd be great to charge $10 for an estimate, honestly. Now, the problem is nobody else does. And it's sort of the cost of doing business. So if you charge, and people pay you for that and they get good value, or you deduct it from the price of the job, great. I know that a lot of people, just their knee-jerk reaction would be no, because it's not generally accepted in the trades. It'd be great if it was, but people just don't do it. So even for, some general contractors sometimes don't even charge you, and they write up massive amounts of plans for building a house and stuff like that. Now, if you have to get a designer involved, obviously you pay for their stuff, but a lot of the times you can tap a general contractor, throw them a plan and say, just give me a price, and they don't charge you. So it'd be great. It'd be great, Ray. Alfonso, no problem, man. Caitlin, how many years did it take you to have back-to-back jobs? Unsatisfying answer. I started my business in 2007, what I believe was some housing crisis-y stuff. I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't smart enough to understand that. But I left my own family business, and there were two Slavic painting companies in a town of about 6,000 or 7,000 people. And I had about 3 months in that winter where I would get a job, and then I maybe had a week or two off. I was actually restoring my own historic home at the time, keeping my brain busy during that. But then after that, when summer hit, it was to the races. I never looked back, and we've never had a gap in the schedule. Now, I will say this. I've been painting since I was 10. My family business, my previous family business, had been around for 30 or 40 years at the time. So Slavics were kind of associated with painting. I had done painting, since I was 10 years old in the community. So people were very accustomed to see me painting things. And so I think I laid a really good groundwork. Now, Caitlin, I will say this, that getting involved with the community was a big thing. I'm in a ton of community organizations, civic groups, economic development authority, veterans groups, things like that. The more you're out there and the more you're showing you're a trustworthy person and getting involved, the easier that's going to be. So that's one question. How long before you had back-to-back jobs? The follow-up question would be, how do you get back-to-back jobs? I would say, number one, you got to have the website as a landing page. Number two, I would get on Facebook and Instagram and post 3, 4, 5 times a day of work you're doing or something, just to get your name out there and start the repetition. I would post a ton in local community groups. There's New Prague happenings, there's Shakopee swap and sell, garage sale sites, things like that. Just get your name out there over and over and over again. And then if you really want to drive some work, print off a bunch of flyers, go to your local town, If they require you to have a peddler's permit or a door-to-door salesman permit, get that, and then go house to house and drop flyers on people's place. You'd be amazed how you can make work fall out of trees like that. Oh, Kevin, how's it going, man? Love Kevin. Thanks for the Saturday show. Love seeing so many affiliate. Absolutely. I'm liking the Saturday show thing too. You guys are kind of making me think that coffee in the war room might be a thing now. So, oh, listen, I agree. I was having this debate with my wife because I'm such a screwball. I'm not really tethered to a lot of reality. I'm kind of out here on my farm. I do as I please. I have relatively long days. And I was asking my wife, like, I got to do a show tomorrow morning. Like, what time should I do it at? Like, what time do people wake up on a Saturday, you know? And we're having this debate. Like, I don't know, like if you do it at 9 Central, have people already had breakfast and moved on with their day? Like, I was trying to be like, when do people wake up, roll over and grab their phone? Because it seems like that's something everybody does. And I felt like 8-ish, give or take. So yeah, I don't know. The response has been great. Tons of people on IG, tons of people on Facebook here. So yeah, it might be something we have to do here. So Daniel, if I wanted to come and learn those 90%, I can do this without remaining your employee. Well, it depends. I would love to have people come visit me all the time. People shadow me for a day. People come take site visits with me. They come see the war room, see the shop, see our crews. If there's something I can help, I'm always happy to help. If we can do it by call or email, that's available. If you want to come here and do it, that's good too. But if you're going to come here and you want to go the full apprenticeship, going to have to hire you. You can come here and do it for free, but I don't know if your family is going to be supported by that. So, Caitlin, no problem. Awesome. Always happy to help. If you guys need anything too, always happy to help offline. I know we have short little bits here, but always happy to do it. Perfect time. Yeah, absolutely, Caesar. That sounds good. All right, we'll check IG here. Oh, Kendall Friesen on Instagram. Yep, rolled over and grabbed my phone. Love Kendall. Man, if you guys don't follow Kendall, I met him at Zach Kenny's finishing school, the first ever ZK finishing school. And I got to sit in there on that. And Kendall is one of the coolest people I've ever met. Super young guy, already deep into the nerdy craftsman, fine paints of Europe stuff, pushing the limits of the trade. I was not doing what he's doing at such a young age. I believe he's 20 or something like that. Can't even have a legal beer yet, but I would watch that guy and I would follow him on Instagram and Facebook if you can as well. So, here we go. Josh on Instagram. Do you use airless sprayers on cabinets? Yes, absolutely. Everything we do is based on simplicity. So there are crazy, I love Zach Kenny. He's got his crazy cup gun setups with 3 air compressors tied together. Amazing setup, something we aspire to. I have a lot of apprentices and we need dumb machines so that people can focus on the craft and not focus on fiddling with the machine. So we have tons of airless sprayers, Titans, Graco's, all the basics, the 390s, 395s, the STSs, the 440s. We got some big boys. We got some 695s. We got air-assisted airless, but basically all standard airless. We have got it down to a science where when I have my choice, when I'm on site, I'll grab a 395, a 440, and a 308 FFLP tip or a 311 HEA tip. And I can do all the trim, all the cabinets in a house with that. It's just, God, just perfect. You turn that pressure up just to where the tails go away. A lot of times I don't have pressure gauges on my sprayer, so I don't even know where that is. And you just go to town and it's just beautiful. This entire house was done with that. And I also got a whole bunch of purple fine finish tips from Titan. Those things were a blast to use too. Like the atomization is almost like baby powder coming out of that thing. It's just a simple setup. No finicking, no muss, no fuss. An apprentice almost can't ruin something like that. So yeah, that's what we use. Oh, Kendall just turned 21. Hey, congratulations, man. Legal beer time. Yeah. So I think when I met with Kendall earlier in the year, I think we all went out for dinner and I think he had not turned 21 yet. So there's nothing that inspires me more than seeing somebody with a young, bright mind be able to do that stuff and is so interested. So it's going to be awesome. Okay, Ryan. Love this. How do you break down estimates? Do you go on what you think it takes for time, or do you have a set price for windows, doors, etc.? So, okay, heated debates. the two biggest questions I get as Ask a Painter is, how do you estimate? What do you charge for X? And how do you schedule? And there's no real answer to both of those besides lots of human interaction. Now, there's ways to estimate. All right. I'm trying to think of, I have a 4 hours master's class on this where we break this down and I show you scientifically how we do it. If you job cost, if you do a job and you figure out how much material, how much labor, and then measure the project to actually get production rates. Like if you measure this war room here, you paint it, and then you figure out what you can charge for it. Now you have square footage and price, and you can say it's $2.85 a square foot for walls on this project. And then you can create a template on your next project where you type in the wall square footage, it shoots you out a price. That's okay, but there's lots of variables involved. I do that. There's production rate pricing where you can say I charge X amount of square foot. That has to be based in tons and tons of data. So if you don't have this yet, you have to get some jobs under your belt and you have to be intentional about measuring them and doing that. When I do new construction and we do drywall, I have it down to a science. Those are very sort of uniform projects, and you can get it down to how many sheets of drywall. You can get it down to how many square feet. We can do an estimate, Andy and I, an entire house of popcorn removal in about 6 minutes by going room to room, digital measures, length, width. I'm typing it into the template. It's shooting out a number for us. We have a in G Sheets, we have a spreadsheet that's our that's our estimate. We have a sneaky little tab down at the bottom that has every room. You just type in the number of length and width, and it'll actually feed to the front estimate a nice clean price. So you're not putting in all those lengths and widths. And that's a great system. When we do whole house trim and repaints too, I have so much data that I know that we charge X for a door, and there's 5 different types of doors, give or take. There's 6 different types of windows. You say, what type of window is it? Type in 4 windows for this bedroom, and it'll shoot a price to the front. It's that, but years and years of data, and I've been super intentional about getting this. If you don't have that, here's a pretty cool experiment that I'll do. I'll see if I can do this. Now, let's see if I can find how did I get rid of my calculator on this thing? Ugh. Okay, so no calculator on that, but I'm going to do the calculator on my computer here. So thought experiment that I do with people. Let's say somebody's in their first year of business. They're like, the whole world is weird to me. What do you charge for something? How much are you supposed to make? What are you supposed to do? I believe that a single person painter should take home half of their revenue in the course of a year. So if you create $100,000 worth of revenue, if you paint $100,000 worth of houses, you should be putting $50,000 in your pocket as a single person painter. So thinking about that, I believe a painter can do at least, you can back up to this in a couple ways. If we don't want to make $20,000 a year, too much risk. It'd be nice to make maybe $80,000 a year. So let's say as a single person painter thought experiment, what would it have to take to make $80,000 a year? So $80,000 times 2 will give you 160. So we'll take $160,000. We want to make that in a year. There's 261 working days in a year. So divide by 261. That equals $613 every working day. That's Monday through Friday, 52 weeks a year, give or take. So basically all you have to do is create $613 worth of revenue per day, every day of the year, to theoretically take home $80,000 a year. Now, the next experiment goes, the commodity, the most commoditized thing that we paint or sell is basically your average size bedroom. Your 13 by 13, 15 by 15, no crazy vaults, no crazy decorative finishes, just 4 walls equally spaced. There's usually 2 doors, 1 or 2 windows, and some baseboard, some outlets, switches, things like that. Most of the people, when I do the pricing experiments, I actually used to travel the country before COVID times, and I would sit before a couple hundred contractors, and we would all estimate the same room secretly on our own. We would turn them all in. I would have somebody tabulate them, and magically the number came to somewhere between $400 to $425 to paint the walls on an average size bedroom, 2 coats after patching. So if you take that, that's market rate. That is legitimately crowdsourcing a number. You're using the intelligence of a crowd to come up with something. So let's just say we charge $400 to paint a bedroom. If you need to make $613 a day in order to take home 80,000, you have to paint 1.5 bedrooms per day, basically. Is that doable? Yes. On Facebook, I have a bedroom I recorded where I did it in about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So theoretically, I could do 3 of those in a day. So that's how you thought experiment into, you can kind of back end into this and say, well, okay, instead of saying, what can I charge? How about you say, what can I make? What are my goals? How much can I charge for this? How much production can I do? How many happy clients can we make? And back end those numbers. This will at least center you. So instead of saying, oh my God, do I have to make like $4,000 a day? Do I have to make $100 a day? That's a good, like nice little thought experiment for that. If you don't have production numbers, I will tell you this. Even if you don't use it now, do job costing. Job costing sounds stupid and gross and boring. All it is tracking how much materials and how many hours per job. Even if you don't need it now or you don't know what to do with it, do it for each job. You can reference it later and you can mine all this for production data for your pricing. Can you say again your 3 go-to sprayers? Yes. So listen, right here, an hour away from me is the world headquarters of Titan and Graco. And honestly, $390, $395 Gracos or $440 the Titans. You can get all, especially if you get some good pricing or you catch Sherwin at a time where they have a sale, $700 to $800. They'll throw in a handful of tips, and you can use it for decades and decades of going there. So. Mike, do you put the same content on Facebook and Instagram? I do. I use Instagram. Instagram is a little more picture user friendly. So when I start posting pictures or videos, I start with Instagram and you can edit it super fast, super well. I post it there, post it to my Instagram story, and then I go over to Facebook and post the same content. I like to duplicate that stuff because some people are on one, some people are on the other. I think it's just good to hit it both. So, oh yeah. Mike, I will say this. Zach Kenny. Look no further than Zach Kenny. He's a master at this. What Zach does, he has the combination of 2 things that make you killer at Instagram and Facebook, which is sexy photos posted all the time. You can have super sexy photos and still have success and just post them randomly or not that often. But I would say posting more frequently is probably more beneficial than even some of the stuff you post. Being consistent with that and maintaining a constant presence online is very important. So what I see some painters do is they get a day off and they post 1,000 pictures to Facebook. They do a couple updates, and then 3 months later, they go back there and add some more things. It's sort of a constant thing. You want to have that constant drip, just like marketing into your business there. So, all right, let's see. Hendricks Woodworks, thank you for your willingness to share knowledge. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. Stuff like that really helps me. Love that stuff. So, all right. I think that's it, guys. I've gone an hour and 15 minutes. This is awesome. We may have to do some more Saturday shows. I enjoy this very much. So thank you to the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association. Normally, I would be gearing up for the big expo, which I would hope to present some master's classes and pound hands with some of the greatest people in the industry. But that is not going to happen this year because of COVID. Normally, there's forums and events all over the country. That's on hold until we can get some more guidance on that stuff. But if you want to go over to the Paint Ed Forum on Facebook, if you want to go over to the Business Brush group, if you want to go to the Kitchen Cabinet Painting Masterminds group, the fellowship continues there. And I will say that when we resume normal operations with the PCA, buckle up. There's going to be some huge changes this year. Jason Paris is actually taking over the reins of the entire organization as the board of directors, as the head of the board of directors. So if you guys know Jason, buckle up. It is going to be an amazing ride for the next couple of years, seeing what he has to do with this organization. So I am actually setting my calendar for 2021. We already have 2 or 3 events on the books traveling. We're working on a Southeast tour, a Georgia-ish, like that. We're working on a Seattle-ish, Oregon-ish thing, and of course, Minneapolis here. So I'm going to be out there out and about meeting people in a safe way. So I'm really looking forward to that. But honestly, go to the PCA. They give you free standards. All the cool cats are there. You're going to learn a lot, and you'll meet people who will inspire you like I've been inspired by some of the people there. So, all right, everybody, thank you on Instagram. We're going to We're going to stop Instagram. Awesome. All right. All right, folks. Thanks again. I really appreciate this. Saturday is fun doing this sort of thing. So we will talk to you guys